Hey, I'm Jay Kumar, the Bass Blaster, and this is your Seafoam Top 5 of the Week in Bass Fishing, number 1. How did Drew Benton win the Lake Murray, South Carolina Bassmaster Elite Series event? Well, he picked the right spawn. I mean that when everybody else was fishing the herring spawn first thing in the morning, well, Drew was out there fishing for spawning bass.
Yes! Wow!
He said he never could get enough out of the herring spawn in practice, so he just went with what he had. Now the weird thing is that the spawning fish he found one day were gone the next, even in practice. He said he'd never seen fish do their thing and leave that fast. So what that did was it kept him hunting for new fish and new water, and that ended up serving him real well in the tournament. Now his main bed fishing bait was a big bite baits fighting frog. And for really finicky fish, including a big one on the last day, I believe it was, he used a drop shot. He also fished a Bagley Pro Sunny Bee squarebill crankbait the last day in the morning when he figured out that shad spawn fish, or bass chasing shad who were spawning, were hanging out in shade lines near the shore. It was his second Elite Series win, the first one being 2018 at Lake Travis in Texas. Big congrats to him. He said he wanted to shout out a friend for teaching him everything he knows about fishing. I think his name is Howie DeWitt. Is that how you pronounce it?
This is how we do it.
That's how we do it. I love that deal. Number 2. Are there crabs in Lake Murray?
There are none.
But don't tell the bass that. Check out what Kyoya Fujita fished in that tournament. That's a jackal drift crab, which surprisingly is not a saltwater bait, or not only, or not even mostly. Kyoya finished third bed fishing in part with that bait, and you might remember he finished second at the Bassmaster Elite before that one at Seminole, fishing this fuzzy dice bait. Sure looks to me like he's showing bass things they've never seen before, and they're jumping all over it. Now you might also remember another Japanese angler, Kenta Kimura, fishing that Berkeley, Japan Jago rocket bait, I think is how you pronounce it, last year, and doing really well with it. As it happens, he finished 10th at Murray, but he was fishing the herring spawn, so no crazy finesse baits. Keep an eye on these guys and maybe start experimenting like Luke Clausen did with this crazy doctored up Z-Man TRD. Smart. Number 3. I finally got to sit down with Jacob Wheeler about the new iKon bass boat that he designed. The first question I asked him was the one question everybody wanted to know, which is, does the bass fishing world need another high-end bass boat? Here's what he said. When we launched this company, it wasn't necessarily about a high-end bass boat. It was more about how do we build a company long-term. When you come from the center console yachting world, which is what the parent company of iKon does, and the quality in those boats, your next step down would be a high-end bass boat, and then you work down basically from there. You build your highest quality bass boat first and give everyone an opportunity as you go down. Makes sense. He said expect to see lower priced iKon boats next year. Now Jacob does come from modest means, so we wanted to emphasize that even though he got to design his own bass boat, and hey, let's face it, if any of us got to design our own bass boat, it would be big and expensive. But anyway, even though he got to do that, he said that more models are coming at all price points. I did learn, however, that Jacob is related to a famous European count.
Count the money.
De Monet. Monet, say it. Monet. 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 Monet.
Count de Monet. Number 4. You ever Bubba shot, also known as power shot? Well, Jared Lintner is one of the OG developers of that technique out west, and so I sat down with him to learn a little more about it. Now, there's way too much to relate here, though you can read all about it on BassBlaster.com. But the long and short of it is, he uses it in any flipping situation, no matter how gnarly the cover. Reeds, wood, docks, you name it. And he said the time it really shines is when you're fishing behind people who are flipping. And in his case, He's fishing behind guys who are unbelievable at flipping, like Tommy Biffle and Denny Brower and Jason Christie. He's using bait casting gear, and the key things at the business end are a shorter Echo Pro full contact drop shot weight, a 3/0 Trocar straight shank finesse worm hook, and a fat robo worm. That's a fat robo worm because he said the normal robo worm won't fall as natural with the bigger hook and it'll tear up easier in cover. Makes sense. Okay, now since he's one of the OG guys also with a Bassin stash, I asked him what mustaches he admires. Tom Selleck? Steve Harvey? He said no, this guy. That amazing or what? Number 5. The Sonar Wars are being fought, and not just in bass fishing. As technology sprints ahead, everybody's always rolling out new stuff, especially on the saltwater side where there's a lot more money. Furuno is one of the kings of saltwater sonar, not in freshwater that I'm aware of. And they just announced a few new features that would be really cool in a bass boat. Crazy thing is, they come in what looks like a very old school unit. Check that thing out. Anyhow, let me run through them real quick. AccuFish is a feature that measures fish length from 4 inches to 6.5 feet in depths of 6 feet to 325 feet. Bottom discrimination tells you if the bottom is mud, sand, gravel, or rocks. Graphically, it tells you that. The white line feature separates the fish on the bottom from the bottom. So now imagine all those things either part of or along with forward-facing sonar. Man, that would take the whole thing up another level big time. All right, that's all I got on that short one, except for one tip. Just make sure when you calibrate your sonar,
one ping only.
Aye, Captain.
haha, you never know who's listening, man. That's all I got for you this week. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Seafoam. Go to BassBlaster.com or .rocks. Sign up for the juicy Bass Blaster email. See you next week. God bless you.